you look as if you have just come straight away for the Green Brigade.
Aye, with a meeting at 6:30, mate.
Yes, Barry, and we're back with a Celtic Unrestricted View. My name is Ryan Clifford, and I'm joined by Barry once again. Barry, through the next round of Scottish, easy days for Celtic, not out of second gear once again. Hope you are very well, mate, and a good weekend, and very good result of the weekend, mate.
Hey Ryan, great to see you, mate. Great to be back on the show as well. And it's been too long. You know what it's like, life gets in the way, and the thing that you're most passionate about, you just can't get the chance to talk about it. So this is our time, and we get a wee shot to talk about the best club in the world. Aye, you say second gear. I mean, God, there was periods in that game where I thought we were in neutral. But a fantastic win. We move on through to the draw. I think it's maybe tomorrow the draw's getting done. And let's see who we get, mate. But yeah, great weekend. We were talking just before we come on there. When you're a Celtic fan, your weekend's determined by how the team got on. You know, if they win, you've had a great weekend. If there's any other result, it's not so good. But aye, good weekend, mate. Great to be on.
No, I think you're spot on, Barry. I think we were actually talking before we come on, as you says, and it doesn't matter if you play football or you're supporting your team. When you lose, it does affect your team. It also affects your team, but it also affects your mood. Sometimes your missus isn't happy. So it's one of these things, mate. Football does fill a big void in your life. And obviously, there's no actual void this weekend because we've won. So it's all good, mate. Like you say, we've spoken about for a long time, Barry, in this personally and on the podcast, that we have been second gear most of the season, I would say. People might disagree, but in my opinion, I don't think we've had many games where we've had to actually step up. I actually thought yesterday, if we did have to step up, I think we could have went through the gears, and if it was maybe enough for each with maybe 10 minutes to go, I think we've got enough in us to go, right, let's just put it in the first, second, third, let's carry on here, because I think, Barry, overall, in terms of the squad, mate, you've no doubts about the quality. You've no doubts about the gears we can go through. We've seen it all season, mate. So I think maybe at 1-0, there's maybe a few flutters in the stadium. Some of 1-0, maybe get a wee goal here, because I think we can start off, Barry. I want to give you credit to St Mirren, mate. I actually thought they came with a game plan. They try to play. It's one of the first teams I've seen to Celtic Park this season, apart from obviously the Champions League, but in terms of domestic-wise, they're one of the first teams that's actually came and tried to actually play, tried to open this up, but this is what I'm saying, tried, because they couldn't. They gave it their best, but I think overall, mate, like you say, it's class toll, because once we get the second goal, it was just kind of easy sleep.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Full credit to St Mirren, you know, the players for coming out and trying to execute the plan they had, and full credit to Steve Robinson as well for coming with a plan, because it's the easy thing against Celtic to just sit back, low block, you know, waste time, take fouls, break the game up, and fair play to any team that wants to do that. But I think, you know, he came to that game, it was a cup game, knockout, and he came with the full awareness that, you know, they need to do something different. They need to try something different, because teams that are sitting in against us, it's not really effective. You know, we seem to be finding a way to break that down. And the more teams do it against us, you would imagine the better we'll get playing against it. So, aye, full credit to St Mirren. But yeah, Ryan, I looked at the bench yesterday, and Chris Iwalumo, hope I'm saying that right, who was doing the footage for Viaplay, he asked Ange Postecoglou after it, he asked him about the squad. He said, "How do you keep all those boys happy?" He said, "Because as players, we all want to play." And Ange Postecoglou, his response was great, obviously, as it always is. But the depth and quality that we've got must be very intimidating for other teams. And it's not just, like for like. There's a lot of variety, Ryan. You look at the personnel on the bench compared to, there's one straight away with So and Kyogo, two very different types of strikers. Haksabanovic with Maeda, two very different types of wingers. So, what we've got, as much as we've got squad depth, we've got variety. We've got players who can come on in the same position, in the same system, but they're offering different things, which must be an amazing weapon for Ange Postecoglou to have. But it's by design. It's not by chance. It's not by luck. He's built the squad that way. We've seen in the past with Celtic squad where we've just stockpiled. We've had the numbers, but the quality hasn't been there, and it's often been like for like, So it's amazing to look at the first 11 and then you're looking at the bench and going, well, even if this isn't going well, and again, just to own that point about teams playing a low block, they must look at it as well and go like that, well, even if we do manage to get to 60 minutes, 70 minutes, goodness me, they can bring X, Y, and Z on, and they're fresh, and they're ready to go, and they want to make an impact, and they're talented, and they're different. So I wouldn't want to be a manager of any other club in Scotland coming up against this Celtic team.
I think you've said this spot on, Barry, because I think a lot of teams and managers, should I say, they're actually starting to wake up to maybe how good we are. In the past, even under Rodgers, I don't think we got enough credit. We've won 4 trebles, Barry, didn't any credit, so I don't see why now we're getting credit. It's weird how football works when you're being successful and winning and doing well. I don't know if it's because I wasn't the other side. They weren't in the league at the time. So I don't know if that was now why it wasn't publicised. But now, like you say, in my opinion, Barry, I think teams are starting to fear us in the tunnel before they even plays. I think, like you say, you look at guys like Jota. I know, for me, Jota, the last few weeks, he's not hit the heights of what he's been for us, but he's still creating goals. He's still contributing. I think the full thing with Jota, Barry, is I think it's because he was worth £6 million. People expect perfection every game, which is granted, you're worth a lot of money, you should be playing well every game, but it doesn't happen like that. You know yourself, Barry, like you say, you've managed football, you've played football. They're no robots. They can't play well every game as much as we want that as fans. Any wee bad pass, we're getting on their back and stuff, but sometimes when you actually sit back and kind of look at things prospectively, you realise that maybe wingers, like I've said before, Barry, are very inconsistent. But even if they're inconsistent, you've got guys who can come on off the bench, like you says. Even James Forrest, again, he's hard kicked the boss in the game at Ibrox. He's still a good option to bring on the bench, but he's not really kicking a ball because I think other guys, I think maybe Ange understands now. Again, it's just from my perspective. Maybe he is understanding now. Maybe these guys are going to play more than maybe he did think with James Forrest, because maybe that's why he gave me a new deal as well. But I'm spot on with you, mate. I'm both spot on. I'm saying you're spot on. That I do feel that teams are starting to fear us now. I think they're coming to Celtic Park thinking, the only way we can maybe get the score line down is we playing the low block and just, as they call it, park the bus. That's some disrespectful. That's what some of these teams need to do because, like you say, you mentioned firepower. Kyogo, I know he's got injured, but Kyogo, you've got Jota, Maeda, who's been phenomenal since the World Cup. He's one guy I think we can mention, Barry. Get your opinion on him. He's maybe still split with the fan base, but I wasn't sure about him. I don't know whether he was a winger. Was he a 10? Was he a 9? Was he and that I wasn't sure where he played in this system. But in my opinion, he's been phenomenal since then, Barry, the World Cup. He just doesn't stop running. It's effortless. It's It is basically like a Duracell battery. It's just absolutely relentless. And for me, he's a guy that can't rap now. As much as when he first came in, I was thinking, where does he play? Will he play every week? Will he just be when Jota and Abad are injured? And now he's keeping Jota, not really Jota, but Abad out of the team because he's playing every week. And I think maybe, especially the game coming up to the final, I think he's going to be a key player coming up, Barry.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Maeda because I'm not sure if he splits opinion now. I think after the World Cup, I think most Celtic fans have saw just a different side to Maeda. It was always dead recognisable his work rate and his ability to press and close people down. I think everybody always recognised that, and that his goals to games ratio was good. I think the criticism was that he missed a lot of chances and that technically he seemed to lack a wee bit in terms of building up the play. But my biggest criticism, Ryan, before the World Cup was that he wasn't standing the defender up. It was very rare to see him, even with that pace, it was very rare to see him take on the fullback. His game typically was getting into good positions, and then he would, first time he would put the ball into a dangerous area, which he's good at. But I've seen a totally different side to Maeda. I didn't know he had that in his locker, the ability to go past players, the ability to cut infield. If you think back to a couple of months back, his goal against Hibs, he got a wee bit of the break of the ball, but then he's cut in and he's fired one into the top corner. So he's exciting to watch now. I'm enjoying watching him, and he's having an effect on the game all the time because you can't take your eye off him for a second. As a defender, you need to be switched on the whole time because his runs are brilliant, and he got his goal there for going through the middle, which was where he played for Japan at the World Cup. So he's capable of playing through the middle as well, Ryan, which again is another option because Kyogo's got that wee knock. We don't know how it'll be. So isn't he quite up to speed yet? So if there is any issue with Kyogo, it might be that Maeda will go into that position. I'd be pretty confident in him playing there, going on his form recently. And he's scoring goals regular as well, but I think he's only 23, 24.
He's not old, he's not old.
No, he's young, mate. So, and he obviously, his work ethic, I mean, there's no many people like him in terms of how hard he works off the ball and the sacrifices he makes. I remember Ange saying that recently about him, the sacrifices he makes. He's a very selfless player, in Ange Postecoglou's words. But all that's all very well and good. But now we're starting to see the quality to go along with it and the confidence to go along with it. So he can you imagine playing fullback against him? He would be your worst nightmare. You'd be constantly looking round, where the hell is he? You'd be worried sick. Anytime you get the ball, you'd just be wanting rid of it because for a fact he's going to be snapping at your heels. So it's been good watching him play recently, Ryan. He's been, post-World Cup, he's been fantastic.
A wee comment from the YouTube, The Garden, Maeda. It's from JJI. His confidence post-World Cup has just kicked up massively. That's very clear. The guy is brilliant. He's like a Duracell bunny. He never stops. I think, Barry, I think JJ says everything that I think me and you have said about him there. I think it's kind of roughly what the fans are starting to realise as well, that he is obviously not just a Duracell bunny. He has got ability. Because I'm being honest with you, I've obviously been critical of some players in the past, i.e. Greg Taylor, and listen, I'm happy to be wrong, but I'm just a fan. I can be wrong.
We all get it wrong, don't we, at times?
But you can only speak and chat about what you feel at the time. And at the time, I wasn't sure about Maeda when he was going to play. I just didn't know where he would fit. I seen how fit he was and I could see what he was doing, but I just didn't know. I didn't think technically he was maybe at Celtic's level yet. But now for me, he's on form at the moment. He's one of the guys that you can't drop, in my opinion. So I'm definitely agreeing with you, Barry. I'm agreeing with JJ says there. Another wee comment as well from the YouTube, from Plunge. It took me the time to adapt to a new country, and now we're seeing the best of him. I think, Barry, I'll put that to you, mate, but I can kind of take that as well, that just because he obviously he started off okay, it did kind of maybe dwindle, but it happened with Hatate as well. I think I spoke to Jai People that the other day, that maybe he peaked a bit early in the season, and then obviously it kind of caught up with him near the end of the season, but not just on Maeda, but I think the Japanese guys, especially him and Hatate, we're definitely seeing the best of him now.
Yeah, that's a good point that the viewer makes there, actually, that you do forget, Ryan, don't you? I mean, we spoke about this before we came on. Being a Celtic fan it's a frenzy. You're obsessed with your club, you're obsessed with your team, and you don't always take in all the details. But, you know, the comment's spot on, because the guys came from the other side of the world. He's got to adapt to the life here and his home life here, and, you know, everything that goes with being a person and living in a certain area. There's a lot goes into that. So credit to him, credit to Hatate, credit to Kyogo. These boys they've made it look relatively easy. You know, the way they've settled, and you can see the relationship and the rapport that they've built with the fans. I mean, particularly Kyogo, he loves nothing more when that game's over and we've won. He loves nothing more than to go over and start it. You know, get the boys going. I seen that So get the chance to do it against St Mirren. Joe Hart was egging him on. So it's fantastic. And again, as much as you would credit that to the boys themselves, but you know, the players and their endeavours on the pitch is only as good as they've been led. That's how important a manager is. That's why they get sacked so often, and there's always a craze to get the next manager in, because they're that important to the club. Because these are the guys that are leading all the standards. They're the guys that are leading, you know, the atmosphere in the changing room, what's expected of them during the week in training, and ultimately the results on the pitch is kind of top down, really. And that's why, you know, I know we're going to speak at some point on the show about Ange Postecoglou and these horrible rumours about clubs down south sniffing about him, but that's how valuable he is. And obviously, you know, we've said many times on here, what he inherited was a shambles, and it just shows you what one person at a football club can achieve if they've got those qualities, and he's got them in abundance.
No, I agree, mate. Definitely. A wee comment as well from Jamie. I was on the topic of Jota. I just watched Ryan Kent, who cost more than Jota. He's murder. We're trying not to talk about him as much, Jamie. But a day, obviously, I said at the start of the season my opinions about when people were kind of talk about the myth about Ryan Kent and Jota. And for me, if the both of them are on a going day, Jota's absolutely clear as day, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. People can argue the point, and I'll accept their argument. I'll say, right, okay, I can take a point, but they'll never change my mind on Jota for me. Maybe I think, Barry, the only thing with Jota is maybe the consistency from him, I think. Again, he is only young. By the way, I'm not going to compare him with Ronaldo, but I'm just talking about the way Ronaldo didn't start off well. Man United, it took him a few games to get basically the way that Sir Alex wanted him to play. Nobody had been greedy all the time, passing the ball and moving and basically been disciplined. And eventually, guys just basically between him and Messi, the two best guys ever to play football, in my opinion. So just because you don't start off well, it doesn't mean you're not going to get consistent. And I think the more he's here, Barry, with Ange, I think Jota will get more consistent, I hope. But even though he's not been consistent, maybe stringing out brilliant performances week in, week out, the sharpness and everything. But see, if you actually look at him, see his feet, it's so quick. It's like defenders just don't know where he's gone. He's still contributing to goals. It might not be the flashy bits of Jota for last year, but he's still doing it. He might not be, to the fans' eyes, he might not be doing it, or he's not taking guys on and getting the ball in the box and stuff like that. as usual, but he's still contributing. He's still the iron needle passes and they wee flicks. He's still doing things that we don't always notice. But on that, in my opinion, I agree with Jamie that I've got my opinions on Ryan Kent. I think Ryan Kent, people are going to say, Ryan, you're just trying to maybe be a bit respectful, to be a bit balanced. I think if Ryan Kent's got a good manager and a better system and he's a bit more consistent, I think Ryan Kent's got attributes, there's no doubt. He's quick, he's tricky, he's definitely got attributes. But if you're comparing him and Jota, in my opinion, Jota is clear, Barry, in my opinion, well clear, but it's just my opinion, mate.
Right, well, if we absolutely must compare the two of them, I'm not one of these Celtic fans, as you know, Ryan, that'll slaughter them just for the sake of it. You know, I'm still going to be fair and give my honest point of view. I think Kent is a ball carrier. He's fantastic in Europe for them because he can get them up the pitch. You know, he can cut in, but he doesn't score enough goals, and he's never going to score enough goals because he just doesn't have the nose for it. He just doesn't have that instinct for goals. And you look at his goals to game record, that will prove what I'm saying here. Whereas you look at Jota, Abada, Maeda, you know, these guys, their input to the team in terms of goals is just far superior. So if it's a straight pick between Jota and Kent, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's going to be Jota every day of the week. And the issue with Jota as well, Ryan, he's had a couple of wee knocks, and then I think he was one of the ones that had that wee illness that was going about.
Yeah.
So I think there's been an element of it's kind of stop-start for him. But as you say, even on a bad day, he can have an assist for a goal. And one thing you're guaranteed with him as well, which isn't always the case for a kind of fancy Portuguese winger, is he'll graft. He'll work hard for the team. So if he's having an off day, you're still going to get that for him. You know, he doesn't go hiding, he doesn't go missing, he doesn't sulk. He still works hard for the team.
Aye, I agree with you, Barry, just in terms of our wingers. Even Hašabanović, and I know James Forrest hasn't really contributed, but he's not really played as much to contribute as much as he has in the past. But even Hašabanović, for me, he's injured as well. For me, he's quality. Well, just so many options, mate. And in my opinion, I think 17 or 18 goals Jota's got for Celtic over a year and a half. For a winger, that's not bad going. And I think he's got decent assists as well. I think he's played 51 or 52 games for Celtic. I think he's got 17 assists, roughly 17 goals, which is very decent in my opinion, compared to, like you said, a lot of other wingers in the league. I do believe all-round player. I think McGregor's the best in the country, but I think technically, for me, Jota's the best in my opinion. I think Jota has a very special talent. I think if he does get his game more consistent, I don't think he's going to... I don't want to say he won't be here too much longer, but he'll have his shooters, because once it all clicks for him, I think he'll be too good for Scottish football. I think that's just the way he plays, Barry. I think he's very on the front foot, he's quick, he's nippy, and you yourself, Barry, defenders don't like playing against, like you said about Maeda. I'm not saying I was the best player, but I was nippy, I was quick. Doesn't matter if you're the best of players. If you've got that turn of pace, defenders don't like you getting turning. If you turn a defender and you get pace, it's cheerio.
Aye, and the thing about Jota as well, he can play down the left or the right. I know most of us prefer to see him on the left, but the form Maeda's in has meant that he's had to play over on the right, and you know he's got a great right foot for balls into the box. You know, he's very good at just getting a yard and whipping it into the box. And I think probably what you're saying there, Ryan, is he's going to get better. He's only going to get better because he is a young guy. He's anytime I've heard him speak, he's always spoke about, you know, he's always come across as very humble, actually. Very humble guy. Kind of looks the type of guy that's dead easy to get on with. So they kind of things are vital for football, especially in this day and age, you know, with the hype and the money and the camera exposure and the quick fixes and people going to clubs for the wrong reasons, and because he left a club that he adored, you know, that was his boyhood club that he left to come over to Scotland, and So I love his personality, and again I go back to Ange Postecoglou and the players that he's recruited and the characters that he's brought into the club. It doesn't get spoke about much here, but our record on the pitch in terms of how we conduct ourselves, you don't really see us getting involved in scrapes and arguments and crowding around the referee, and we've had good reason to here and there. We've had very good reason to, and yet you don't see it happening. So again, goes back to the manager and the kind of values that he's laid out. You and I were talking about it before we came on, Ryan, as well, about and I'm sure there'll be some viewers out there that would like to comment on this. Comparing Ange Postecoglou and Brendan Rodgers, or not even so much comparing them, but just kind of recognising how good they are, and it's their attention to detail. You were talking about it, Ryan. You'd went to a Chris Commons night, and he was talking about his relationship with Brendan Rodgers, and he highlighted that to you, that the guy was meticulous, he was detailed, he was showed up before everybody else, and that's what you've got to do if you want to be at the very top. And when we were saying earlier about teams maybe fearing us or being intimidated by us, I think, in my point of view, it would be more the case of there would be you would feel quite debilitated, really, because and it's a bit cheesy, but we never stop. That is literally what's happening. You're seeing that every single week. Celtic take to the pitch, we never stop. We come out the trap straight away. The tempo gets set. We play a certain way, and that's it for 95, 96 minutes. It doesn't light up, and you can tell with the manager that it ain't going to light up. So, often when you play a team that's a bit ahead of you, you're relying on a bit of luck. You're relying on them maybe taking the foot off the gas a wee bit, maybe taking it for granted that they're going to win. But I don't see that happening under this manager, right?
I think I can agree with you, Baz. I think as well that for us anyway at Celtic, I think the only way teams will beat us is if we're not on par that day. If we don't turn up to a away game, even Rangers, in my opinion, if we turn up to a away game in Scotland, there's only one winner, in my opinion. I think we're too good everywhere in the park. I don't think there's a position where any team's got any players better than us, in my opinion. Right now, I just can't. I just want to take anybody else, because I just think that, like you say, the way the manager came in and the way he's brought these guys into Celtic and he's progressed them, developed them, and now you can get the fruits of that. And talk about fruits, another comment as well from YouTube, and it's from our own JP. Even he's meant to say evening. Even boys, how are you? Hope you're well. Maeda is class. What an asset to have Harry Kewell. He has been remarkable since arriving in the work. He's done with the wingers. And Ryan, your clock's in 3:45 for mums. Thanks for coming out, mate. I'll get Barty's tomorrow, right? I'm sick of getting stick for that. Barry, I'll put it to you, mate. Obviously, Harry Kewell, quite a good point that JP makes. It's not something that gets spoken about a lot, maybe between the fans it does, but not really in the media. He's not really talking to media a lot. He's not really out there. He's obviously working very hard behind the scenes, but I think now you can maybe see the work he is doing, Barry, behind the scenes.
Well, shock horror. JP makes a good point. It's not like him. I'm only kidding you, big man. Absolutely. I mean, is it a coincidence that Harry Kewell and the time he's been there, that Maeda's games, to me, like after the World Cup, it seemed like his game was different. It almost seemed as if he had been gave a whole new set of directions what to do on the pitch. And you would have to, I mean, Harry Kewell was an outstanding player, and that was his position. I know he did kind of play in some different positions, but out in the left was his natural position. So obviously you're going to improve with somebody of his pedigree being there and mentoring you. But then again, I'm saying obviously, but the best players don't always make the best managers or the best coaches. So that's probably doing Harry Kewell a disservice there. Obviously, he's very committed. I watched some of his interviews when he first came to the club, and I listened to Ange Postecoglou's reasons for bringing him in. And one of the things that came across was how determined Harry Kewell was to be successful as a coach stroke manager. So that hunger to do well is obviously there with Harry Kewell. And I've seen, you probably watch it too, some of the Celtic TV footage that you get watching the guys training. I'm always watching that to see if I can spot something. And a lot of the times you see Harry Kewell out doing drills with him. So, yeah, full credit to him and the impact he's had. If he is one of the main contributors as to why Maeda's playing so well, then again, a masterstroke by Ange Postecoglou bringing him in. All roads lead back to the gaffer.
I think, Barry, we all know now that we can obviously hear bits of information, but you can obviously see that the manager has got just about full control of everything in the football side. Obviously, by all accounts, what it looks like, some managers in the past haven't had that. It might not be true, but just by what you see and hear from a fan's point of view, sometimes decisions on the park or decision boardroom level, you think, like, that's a bit strange, why we're doing that, etc. But you can never really question anything that happens now with the manager, if it's transfers or coaches come in or backroom staff, whatever it is. You never really question it. And again, something we can't question is on the game yesterday, Hatate. We'll start with him, mate. I thought he was very, very good. His goal as well at the end, I don't think he was smiling at the end, and I don't think he realises how good he is as well. I just don't think he realises that he's actually progressing very, very good as a player. For me, when he first came in, we all know Barry, we've seen him, he was superb, but then he did kind of, the latter end of the season, he kind of peaked down a wee bit, and I think that was maybe due to, again, it's just for what I can think as a fan, it was maybe all the adrenaline came in first, the way he was playing well, it was all the euphoria, him coming in and how well we're doing, and then he kind of maybe burnt out, maybe because he was playing a lot of games. But I think we're really seeing, back to halfway through, back to the start of the podcast we're talking about, mate, we're seeing the fruits of things now, and we're seeing the fruits of him, definitely. Because I thought yesterday, it was just about the best one in the park.
Well, he's one of these players, isn't he, that you watch and he quickly becomes one of your favourite players. His style of play he's so easy on the eye. He done a couple of wee flicks in the game yesterday that were just a joy to watch. And he's got that low centre of gravity that's dead good to see. His range of passing. He's got an eye for goal. He's got that wee bit of creativity in him. He's got great vision. He's only young as well. He likes a tackle. He makes up the ground. He gets himself about the pitch. He plays football with a smile on his face. I mean, goodness, what more could you want? He ticks every single box. His goal, his second goal, was outstanding. I think it was So that let the ball run as well. So, good on him for having that awareness that Hatate was coming on and was in a better position to get his shot away. But he fired it in the back of the net. It was a lovely finish. And he's another one that, similar to Maeda, in terms of getting better. How much improvement has he got in him? Because he's a young guy. There's a lot of things he could still add to his game. But yeah, he's been one of my favourite players. Since Ange came in and the players that he's brought in, he's been one of my favourite players to watch. Just because that area of the pitch, it's most people that are involved in football will tell you that central midfield can be where games are won and lost. Because you need those guys to be doing a job both ways. They need to be going back the way, helping the team defensively, but there's a big onus on them as well to drive the tempo going forward. And it just takes up great positions. I mean, it just has that knack of being in the right place at the right time. You can't really teach it. I think Abada has it as a wing forward. He's got that it's not really something you can teach to a player. It's instinctual. You know, it just comes to them during the game. They don't really need to think it through. They find themselves in the place where they should be, and he's got that knack. So, he's a great player to watch, and excited to see how far he can go. I mean, like a few others, you know, how much better can these guys get? And just to kind of a wee mention as well for Alistair Johnson at right back. It's been seamless. And again, I go back to the manager for that, you know, recruitment. But nobody's mentioned Juranovic. You know, best of luck to him. I wish him all the best. But you're certainly not looking at that Celtic team and going, oh, we're not the same team without Juranovic. It just looks like for like, to be fair.
Aye, obviously, on the podcast and personally, Barry, you know my opinion on Juranovic. I thought it was really top draw. I thought some of the fans gave him a wee bit of a hard time sometimes because he made the odd mistake, etc. But for me, that I do agree about Hatate, mate. I think he's very, very good. And again, I'd never want to sell my players. I'd never want to put out anything because let's be fair, nobody's really going to look at this podcast and go, right, a wee guy Ryan says this, let's go and sign him. But
never know.
But I do feel Hatate's definitely, when he goes, it could be 2 years, 3 years, he could stay here all his career, we don't know. But I do feel that if he is going to have suitors, it's going to be mega money because he's top draw. And the only reason we don't sell players for massive amount of money is because we're in Scotland and it's Celtic and it's no down south. Because for me, another guy who I think made one of the best of games yesterday, in terms of because of what he's used to, is McGregor. But I don't think McGregor has to be good because when McGregor's just playing a simple game, maybe no hitting the heights that he always does, he's still effective. But I think, Barry, in my opinion, I'll put this to yourself, I think McGregor, he doesn't need to be good. He doesn't need to put the gears up because his lowest gears still fantastic. I think he goes unnoticed, Barry, because he does the simple things well, and because he might know the flashy balls through the middle or the balls near the tap that you don't really think about that he's played well. I think sometimes if you actually took a step back, I might ask a date one day, Barry, just to maybe get a gauge of, I don't know how good he is, but just as a player, just watching him, how good he is, because he's always there. He's covering somebody, he's always making a pass, he's at the side of the play when the ball's down the line, he's always helping his teammates out, he's always talking. And I think, Barry, because he was used to him doing things very, very well, when he maybe doesn't have I don't want to say the best of games, but maybe know what he's used to playing every game at the highest pomp, he still does the things well, but we just don't notice it because we're expecting massive things out of every player. But for me, Barry, they two are without doubt the best centre mids in Scotland. Aaron Moy, again, brilliant, but I think because I think because he's a free transfer, some fans go, he's just all right. He's just all right. He's doing well, but he's still maybe not play well. I think people expect him not to play well, but I think he's top draw. But I know last week fans were saying, on form, he's probably the best player in Scotland now. He probably is on form. He's been phenomenal. But in my opinion, it's just my opinion. But I think all round, Hatate's definitely leading up to being one of Celtic's most important players, if not the most important, next to McGregor. But for me, they two, McGregor and Hatate, I think I put it on Twitter yesterday, outstanding footballers, and in my opinion, the two best at the mids that we've had in a while, but definitely in Scotland.
Well, you've covered the full midfield trio there because you mentioned McGregor, Hatate and Moy. And Moy got the assist for the opening goal, didn't he? And he got into that lovely position just inside the box, both ready through, and he was able to cut it across. So I think that trio is on form, our best midfielder now. And again, you've got variety in that three. But Callum McGregor, you know, sometimes it's a compliment for a number 6 to say that you don't really notice them, and they sort of go. They're operating without you really recognising them, because that's part of their game, really. That's maybe the biggest part of their game is just to be in the right place at the right time, keep the ball moving, break up play, and he does it effortlessly. I mean, at the start of this season, when we were recruiting and bringing in centre midfielders, and Aaron Moy was brought in, and Abelgard, although I know he's away now, but I remember thinking, I wonder if Ange Postecoglou sees McGregor as playing in one of those more advanced positions. And at that point, you know, I would have might have even sided with that. I might have thought, well, that is his more favoured position. That's his natural position. He is more of a kind of forward player, but I've changed my mind completely. I think he's made that number 6 position his own. I think he understands that position now really well. I think he does the so-called dirty side of the game brilliantly. You see him breaking up play a lot. You see him covering for our forward players a lot. You know, I've seen him almost last man many times this season, and he's the one that's covering. And part of his game this season as well is, and this doesn't go noticed enough for him, he's a strong boy. He's a strong competitor physically in those duels, because you'd need to be, as playing as a number 6, you know, you need to be able to hold your own. Mm-hmm. And again, he's no shied away from that either. You know, captain of the club, somebody who's put a lot in, plays a lot of football every year, and yet he's still running those hard yards. He's still putting himself in where it hurts. And then when he's on the ball, we all know his quality. You know, we all know how good he is at moving the ball, passing and moving. He knows when as well to get himself a wee bit more further up the pitch. You know, to break the lines. We go back to last year at Ibrox when he single-handedly changed the game, went on a mazy run, and the rest is history. So he's an exceptional player, Ryan. I know that you've got a lot of love, a lot of time for him, and speak about him often, and no wonder, because his consistency as well, you know, shows up every week, never under a 7, always a 7 or above every single week, and he's an absolute class act.
I've got a lot of love from me. I do really believe he's taught me. A bit of topic on Twitter the other day, but it was roughly, it was all Rangers fans that were. It was Rangers fans that were actually commenting back to me, which for me tells you everything what I meant by it. But for me, McGregor, and it's just my opinion, he just about walks into a lot of teams down south. But I said it in the last podcast, maybe take me your top 4 or 5 who you would normally take as your top 4 or 5. I know this year it's a bit different, but normally your Liverpool's, Man City's, Arsenal's, Chelsea, United, they're your top 4 or 5. Even Arsenal as well. So, but take away that, I think your top 6s, your 6 downwards, I think he plays. I know people mention McAllister at Brighton and guys at West Ham, Declan Rice, etc. If McGregor's playing down south, he's definitely getting talked about in that bracket. It's just because he's not playing down there. I don't think I'm talking about a turn. I don't think I'm not wanting the players to go. But if a guy's doing well and a guy's top, I'm going to praise my players. I'm going to hype my player up, because I don't think our players, Barry, and our managers, and I know Ange's getting hyped up by us, but I don't think our players and managers in the past as well, even Rangers players who have been very good in the past, I've never got hyped up. Well, short to tell, they've been hyped up, but in terms of maybe the money they should be going for, as much as I don't think guys like Bassey was the best, he done okay for what he did, and Rangers got the money to go because they sold him at the right time. Right, okay, silly bid done, take it. Sometimes silly bids should be accepted, because I don't think, Barry, in terms of Celtic and Rangers, we sometimes rob ourselves. We don't accept the silly offers. Sometimes, like with JJ, we took a deal that I thought 7 to 10 million. Why? Obviously, we don't know why that was, right? I don't know why it was. I don't know if I'll ever find out. just found it strange. A World Cup guy, he played at World Cup very well, done well for Celtic, only £10 million. For me, Barry McGregor should be getting talked about as your 25, 30, 40 million pound players, but because he's playing with Celtic, he won't. People say, oh, he's not done well in Europe and he's not done well in this. I think against Madrid, like he says, he was a 7.3 or 7.4 against Madrid. He was better than half the Madrid team that night. So to say that he doesn't well in Europe, stats might tell you that, right? But from my opinion, I don't believe stats are the be all and all, Barry. I like to look at guys for naked eye, and for naked eye, McGregor, in my opinion, easily goes down south and just about walks in every team, apart from maybe your top 4 or 5. Don't know what you think, mate, but it was just funny that it was Rangers fans that were giving me the backlash saying no, and maybe I'll need it, and this and that, and I'm thinking, well, that for me, that tells your story. Some Rangers fans were saying that McGregor wouldn't get in the Rangers team, and I'm thinking you're either trying to get me to bite here, or you're just generally, you see football different for me, because for me, McGregor, I don't even need to say it's in their team because he'd be the best player. So, but I think maybe, Barry, we should be talking up our players and our manager. They might go and fail, they might, right? But you've got to talk them up for what you see them every week playing football.
Well, I think Callum McGregor's performances in Europe have been fantastic, and I think anytime he's played for his country, there's been games he's been the standout player in those games as well. So, no, I believe Callum McGregor is more than capable going down to the English Premier League and performing in that league, because it's not just about his attributes physically as a player, but Callum McGregor's temperament is second to none. You know, his commitment, his leadership skills, which, you know, were questioned by some people when Ange first came in. You know, would Callum McGregor be able to front up as captain? Because he seemed from the outside as a quiet guy and kind of just went on about his business. But I think he's represented the club in that armband as good as anybody. And he's got a big responsibility in that Celtic team. I've heard him saying it in various interviews. I heard him saying it on a wee clip that I managed to get access to, of all places, on TikTok. And he was shouting in the dressing room about standards, you know. So I don't think you can analyse a footballer, Ryan, completely unless you look at their personality as well. And obviously Callum McGregor has got those personality traits, desire, commitment, you know, resilience. Again, Callum McGregor, when Ange Postecoglou came in, was on the back of a diabolical season for the whole club, him included. So he's bounced back for that as well. You know, he's shown that he's capable of getting knocked and coming back again even stronger. So it's more than just what type of player you are and what kind of ability you've got. And, you know, one that kind of springs to mind here is Paul Pogba. Probably one of the most talented footballers I've seen, with technique, right and left footed, big, strong, good in the air, could shoot, could pass, could tackle, had everything. But his careers just went like that. And that's because, well, looking at it from the outside, I don't know, but looking at it from the outside, Ryan, he doesn't have some of those traits that Callum McGregor's got. So footballers, it's more than just their ability on the pitch. It's their heart, their will, their determination, and all these things are invaluable on an actual football pitch. When you're in the trenches, or when you're going for titles, when you're in cup finals, cup semi-finals, and you're in the clutch, and it could go either way. You want Callum McGregor's in your team. They're the type of players you want. So I think enough said about him. I think he could hold his own in any league in the world.
I totally agree with you, Baz. Again, some people won't, but I think that's probably because they support other team. I don't think that's him speaking with their football cap on. The last comment from JP here. He got BJP comment again. The last bit about the game, and we're going to Anne's Baz. As soon as Hatate or Reo Hatate Masterclass come on, we started picking them apart. We started to play forward more. They lost their pressing shape and more space opened up for us. I'll put it to you, Baz. I do think JP's right. I do think when they come on, I know Tombo got a wee bit of a bad case on Twitter yesterday and social media, saying that he wasn't up to it and he was slow, etc. Maybe it was, maybe not his best performance. But when O'Reilly and Hatate, his favourites came on, Hatate, I think the game did change in our favour, definitely.
Yeah, I think, but you could probably fit that as well, Ryan. Probably if Hatate starts the game, Haksabanovic starts the game, and you bring on the boys that started in place of them, it's probably going to have the same effect. I think the way that we approach games now and the way that we play, and then that the changes come in, I think they're always going to have that kind of influence. 9 out of 10 times, the players that come onto the pitch are going to have that kind of influence, Ryan, because that St Mirren team had to do a lot of running. They had to do a lot of running, and to commit to that way of playing their game plan, it would have took a lot of energy out of them, you know, because you've got to be switched on the entire time, and you can't let your guard down for a second. And then, you know, Celtic roll on the subs, and it's guys who are sitting there desperate to go on the pitch and get involved. So I do see most games that we play now, I do see that when the subs are made, there's an instant impact, regardless of who it is. There's an instant impact, and I think it's just another side of our game. And I would say this is fairly new, or probably new to me altogether. I don't recall, as a Celtic fan, I just don't recall any time or any period where you would be that excited about subs coming on the pitch, anticipating that kind of impact. It would always be who we could bring on, and it was more hope, because you're basically your starting 11 was your best 11. So the players that were coming on off the bench, it was more hope that they could have an impact than expectation. Now, because the quality is so spread out through the squad, when players come on after 60 minutes, 65 minutes, you just expect that they're going to have a say in the game. And especially, as I said, because of the way we play, there's tired legs out there, but there's tired minds as well. You know, players have been having to be switched on the whole time. And so I think we wear teams down, and by the time the subs come on, you know, they've got 25, 30 minutes, so they can empty the tank.
Yeah,
and they're doing it against players that are already they've already went through their paces. So I think it's more the way we play rather than the kind of personnel.
We comment from Anthony, mate, and then we'll go on to Ange. Do you guys think David Turnbull will be here next season? In my opinion, I do rate him. I also do rate him highly, to be fair. I just don't know if he does suit the system. But before he got injured, when Ange first came in, he was playing quite a lot, and he was doing reasonably well. But I think maybe we want to obviously get to the next level, i.e. better in the Champions League. You want to obviously do better. You need to improve. I've always said, Barry, I think sometimes maybe Liverpool have shown you this year, if you don't improve and progress and get fresh recruitment, you go still. And I think we need to obviously move guys on eventually. Guys need to get game time, maybe. Guys like Turnbull, I don't think he'll be happy getting maybe 10, 15 minutes here and there now and again. So I thought yesterday was maybe a chance for him to, I'm not saying improve himself, but maybe put himself in the picture for the game, Aberdeen game. Then obviously the final came up, which is obviously going to be the big game for, obviously every game's a big game, Barry, but you know what I mean. Obviously you hopefully take care against Aberdeen, and then obviously the guys will be training that week to try and get into the team for the game in the weekend against Rangers in 2 weeks' time. So I think Turnbull will go. I think it all depends, Barry, on the type of deal you're getting for him. I don't know. Personally, I think he's maybe the only midfielder that maybe you can think of it would maybe be going. O'Reilly, again, it all depends on maybe the bid you're going to get. But in terms of moving guys on, Barry, I think it could be maybe either out on loan, or it could be maybe if somebody a decent offer that Celtic maybe could accept. But I could maybe agree with Anthony. He could be maybe want to move on in the summer, but I don't really want to sell my players because I do think he has got a part in him to contribute. But I think we do need to sign guys to come in and play week in, week out, which obviously is going to happen, Barry, because of the squad we've got and the way Ange plays. But you want to sign players to come in and play. Awata's maybe going to maybe take care of him eventually. So maybe with Awata being there, I think you maybe could let Turnbull go.
I know, to answer Anthony's question, mate, I don't think he'll be there next year. I think I see David Turnbull as number 10. I think that's his position. I think if you were to ask him, you know, his preferred role, it would be a number 10, just behind the striker, because he's a goal threat. That's his game. You know, he likes to get in the box late. He likes to shoot from outside the box. I don't think his link-up play, middle to front, is the best. I don't think that's really his game. You know, getting on the ball, passing and moving, getting into positions out wide to help the winger, which is essentially what Ange Postecoglou wants his two number 8s today. He wants Hatate and Moy, that's who's occupying those positions now. He wants them to be linking up the play. He wants them to overlap the wide players. And he wants that fluidity. He wants that constant movement for him. And I just don't see Turnbull as that. I see Turnbull as a number 10. So ultimately, I don't think it'll work for him, Ryan. I don't think he'll be here next season. And I would say that because the way Ange Postecoglou does his business, he seems to be always evolving his squad. And I just think David Turnbull, as much as I rate him, I do think he's a good player. And I do think he's got good attributes. I just don't think he's going to get to the level that Hatate's currently playing at, Moy's currently playing at as a forward player. And O'Reilly, you know, who at his best was playing at that level as well. And I'm certain O'Reilly's is going to return to that. So Turnbull, I think, weakens the team when he comes into it. I mean that with all due respect to him. I think he weakens the team, so I don't think he'll be there long term, mate. But he's a good player. He'll have a good career ahead of him, and I think there probably will be teams down in the Championship that would benefit from having a David Turnbull in their team because, as I say, he's one thing he has a goal threat.
No, I can totally get that, Barry. That's definitely a fair comment. I think he probably is, like you say, you're not saying he's a weak link as a bad player, just the way we play. I can definitely take that, Barry, definitely. And on to the big question, mate. Has Hans gone to Southampton? Has he gone to Leeds? Where's he gone? Is he staying at Celtic? According to the media, he's in talks with... he's maybe going to talk to Leeds, and which the bets he's going to be a Southampton candidate. To be fair, Barry, I did mention it on the Leeds podcast. See if teams are looking at Ange, in my opinion, as a board level of a club or a recruitment for a manager, you're maybe doing your job wrong. I think you should be looking at the best managers. You should be looking at a Celtic manager who's doing well. You should be. As much as I don't want any player to go who's doing well, or my manager to do who's doing well to go, he will eventually have his suitors. There's no doubt that Everton had him on their list. There's no doubt Leeds probably had him on their list. There's no doubt Southampton, he could be on their radar. In my opinion, Barry, I think if teams are looking at him at that ilk or higher, they're maybe not doing the recruitment job well because he is doing very well, and I think he would suit. Listen, we're a massive team, but there's teams like down south who've got a lot more money to spend, etc., etc. And listen, money does talk. But the way Ange spoke yesterday, the way he's always spoke, he knows how special this club is. He knows how special we are as fans. He knows that he's got a Champions League guaranteed if you win the league again. So he's at 6 blockbuster games. I know down south you get the exposure with playing against these big teams, and it's not just the league, it's the money and everything comes with it. He is getting exposure, but you're not going to get exposure with Brighton or Southampton or Leeds, etc., playing the Champions League. you're testing yourself against the very best teams for 6 games. I know it might only be 6 games, but you've got 6 games to test your mettle at the highest standard in world football. Well, obviously European football, but it's the biggest tournament probably take away the World Cup. I know the Euros is massive, but the Champions League at club level's massive. It's the biggest tournament you can get. So I think we've done okay last year. We did compete. People in Scotland and the media, you wouldn't think we competed. I know we finished bottom. Rightly so, we didn't get enough points, but our performances did do okay. We just couldn't finish the chances. That was we didn't defend amazingly, but it wasn't defending. It was the issue. I know you ship goals, but if you score goals, it puts the pressure on teams to then obviously come and attack again. It gives you leeway to go and get more goals. So I think we all know, Barry, the wee niggly part of the European campaign was the goal scoring. But on hands, mate, I don't see any reason at all why clubs wouldn't want them. But there's no reason why fans need money, in my opinion. I don't know when kind of information. This is just me, my opinion on this topic. I don't see any qualms about hands gone. There's nothing in it. There's maybe in it about clubs having their own radar or clubs' interest. I've got interest in Katy Perry. I've got interest in Rihanna. Am I going to talk to them? No. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I can send them Instagram the question. They're just want to ding me. So I've got loads of interest in all sorts of lovely, beautiful females. It's not going to happen. So it's the same as Leeds and etc. They can have interest in Hasenhüttl, or they can have Ange or Michael Beale or Jim Goodwin, whoever it is. They're not going to get Ange because he knows where he is, Barry. He knows how big this club is. And he knows that he's maybe got, I think Barry's, he's maybe got another, I think maybe his plans 45 year, Barry. I don't want to say he's going to go, but I think maybe if he does well next year in the European stage, obviously that's hope for win the league, then I do feel he's going to get more exposure. I do believe, see, when we beat them last year at Ibrox, when we basically won the league, when we went 6 points clear, I think. I said after that game, that's when he got big exposure. He put himself out there as like, that's us one at Ibrox again, because I think the manner it took us to win the league. Even it was match my dad that said, my old man, he says he's just put himself out there now. And in my opinion, Barry, there's no way he's gone down there. The only way I would really say, I would always say best wishes to him. But the only way I would say would be best wishes would be the end of the season. And if you go to a top 4 or 5, i.e. teams chasing titles and teams that are trying to win the Champions League, your Chelsea's, I know Liverpool, no this year, but normally your Man City's, your Arsenal's, United's, then I would say, right, okay, big man, you've done amazing. Fair play, you going and enhance your career. But anything below maybe your top 7, top 8, I wouldn't really take kind to that, to be fair. I didn't take kind to Rodgers going, but we've obviously overcame that now, and you look back, it was amazing. But I think sometimes you've got to go where the ambition goes, Barry. And I know you can rebuild teams that are done with us, but I don't really think. I would maybe question ambition if he went to Leeds or Southampton, etc., because I just don't see why you would leave a club like us to go down there. But that's just my opinion, Barry.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're discussing it. I'm glad we're having a conversation, because I think there's a lot of Celtic fans that are just kind of not want to go there, which is fair enough. It's gave me the fear, Ryan. I'm going to be honest. Just the whole talk about this beautiful human being leaving our club gave me the fear. And honestly, I think I woke up thinking about it this morning. That's the effect that this amazing football club has on you. But I was pleased with his comments after the match with St Mirren, and he said exactly what you said there. He said he's already at a special club. That was his words. I'm already at a special club, and I can see the appeal down south. I can see why managers everywhere are desperate to get in that league, and it's obviously the exposure, but it's the chance to do your craft at the highest level and to test your craft at the highest level. And I think that is something that is important to Ange Postecoglou. I think he does want to test himself. He wants to test his style of football. and he wants to see, how well it stands up against the best in the world. Now he's getting the opportunity to do that at Celtic because he can do that in the Champions League. The only question mark would be is, does he feel as though he's got the right resources, money, spending power, to be able to test his style of football at that level? That's only Ange Postecoglou can answer that. I think going by the man himself in the time that he's been here, he seems somebody who really values decency and being fair. So I don't think he would leave at this point in a season. I think that would go against his morals. I think. But again, I bought into Brendan Rodgers, and I thought Brendan Rodgers was one of us. And as much as I can understand his decision to leave, the timing it is a bit unforgivable still. So yeah, it has gave me the fear a wee bit. But again, it's like we're players in it. When my players are doing really well, they're going to be linked to all these different clubs. It's going to be the same for the manager. You're right, Ryan. If clubs have got anything about them, especially mid-table clubs down in England, they certainly should be looking at Ange Postecoglou for the way he's come in and transformed our club. But I just get the feeling, my gut feeling is that he's got these guys here, the Hatates, the Maedas, So, Alistair Johnston, Kobayashi. He's got these guys here, they're so young, and he's got a big squad of players. And I don't think he would be content if he left the new, because he knows there's so many more gears that squad can go through. Different Brendan Rodgers, somebody made a good point on one of the phone-ins or one of the forums I was on, that Brendan Rodgers, with all due respect, he sort of did take us as far as he could, I felt. He'd won everything. He qualified for the Champions League on 2 occasions. And so he took us to that stage twice. He'd won trebles. He'd pretty much done everything. There was not much more he could do. That's not the case for Ange Postecoglou. He's maybe not even halfway through his sort of vision and where he can go. So, but none of us really know, Ryan. That's the thing, isn't it? Is when Brendan Rodgers left, it was like somebody breaking into your house. The feelings that you had, you just felt so robbed. So I'd hate to go through it again. I would hate to go through it again, and then I get the fear: who would we get? So I thought you might think that way, but I'm looking at his interview after the match against St Mirren, and he came across as a guy who absolutely adores the relationship he's got with the fans here. Realises it's a special club. And do you know something, Ryan? See, if he was to leave and go to Leeds or go to another club down there, and even if it worked out okay for him, is he really going to get the same experiences that he's getting here? Not a chance. There's something just very different about being at our club and the passion that our fans have, and just the history of the club and everything that goes with it. So I'd like to think that he's got at least another couple of years with us before he would even start thinking about his next move.
No, I agree, Baz. A few comments on some of the YouTubes, mate. Some of the comments for YouTube. They're talking about Peter Lawwell. If Peter Lawwell has his say and he kind of interrupts what's happening, then Ange might be away. Me personally, I don't know why Peter Lawwell keeps getting brought up, because Peter Lawwell's taking nothing to do with that side now. We all know that he's dealing with the PLC side. He's come out and he's dealing with the money, obviously the money side of it, and the PLC side and everything else. He's dealing with that stuff. So, in my opinion, again, this just for what I can roughly say from my fan opinion and bits of information you get and you see. We all know that Rodgers, Lawwell, in my opinion, it's got nothing to do with it. I don't know why fans are worried about it. I can see why they're worried because of the past. But see, if you look at the past, how many trophies was Lawwell here when he won? His reign was just about full of trophies. The only reason some fans are a bit fine maybe is because of that season. And it's no down to Lawwell, it's no down to Len. It's all a big load of things that just happened. We can sit here. I can sit here and speculate everything that happened. You hear things, you see things, and whatever else. It was the Lennon, it was the board, it was this, it was that, it was COVID cases, it was this. There's so many things that we could talk about. But in my opinion, and for what I know, Peter Lawwell has got jack shit to do with the transfers. It's Michael Nicholson, Mark Lawwell, and Ange. And there's guys that we know. No, I'm sorry, I don't know. There's guys that who I haven't even heard of that are probably working behind the scenes in the recruitment. That we're no previously been on the website or actually known of them. There's loads of people behind the club, behind the scenes at the club that we're no privileged to know who they are. There's probably guys who are helping them, i.e. analysis, etc. So, in my opinion, Lawwell has got nothing to do with the recruitment side. I think he's a bit. I don't want to be disrespectful, but he is getting old. He is getting older now. He is getting on in years. I don't think he's going to be around the club that often to be that side of it anymore. It's to do with Mark Lawwell is highly rated by a lot of people. If you know, in my opinion, Barry, if you're involved in this City group, you're very highly rated, i.e. Ange and Mark Lawwell. Lawwell, I'm talking about Mark. A lot of clubs have come out and said how good he is. His stats, previous stats that we've done at Man City, brilliant. It's all down to Dermot Desmond. He's one of the major shareholders. If he doesn't want Ange, then he'll say, right, Ange, look, best wishes, right, it's time to go. Dermot Desmond holds a lot of things at this club. It's not Lawwell. Lawwell's he's a chairman. But Dermot Desmond is one of the biggest shareholders in the club. And if he wants to step in, he'll step in. Because he stepped in when, obviously, by all accounts, with Mark O'Neill, he stepped in, gave him the money, and he stepped in. As much as I don't like Desmond. As much as I don't like the fact he's not came to the AGMs, etc., I don't like that. Major shareholders, obviously, we don't know if it's family issues, etc., etc. We all know things can happen. But no, I think it's 2006, I could be wrong. Something like that. Something crazy that he's not at an AGM. Apparently something mental. I think one of your major shareholders, Barry, should be there to obviously front the fans and what he feels. But I don't think Peter Law was anything to do with recruitment, Barry. In fact, I know. I just know he's not got anything to do with that. I just think people, I just think they just want to put a bit in him because of the season that happened, Barry.
Yeah, well, listen, you said it yourself, Ryan. I mean, you know, it's easy to maybe look at one season and hold a grudge, but the guy was instrumental in bringing Brendan Rodgers to the club, and you know, unprecedented success, 4 trebles we won under Peter Law was part of 4 trebles. So he's a successful man, and he done a lot of good things behind the scenes with the club in terms of commercially, you know, and Celtic as a brand. So I don't have any concerns in that regard. Peter Law jeopardising Ange Postecoglou's position with the club. The only other thing I would say on Ange Postecoglou is that you'd like to hope that, you know, Celtic to some extent took a chance bringing Ange Postecoglou to the club. To some extent, now people who know him, people who know his work, and the people at the club who knew his work wouldn't have seen it that way. But Ange Postecoglou himself would concede that the Celtic fans embraced him unanimously at a time when we weren't exactly sure, and it was a sensitive time. We just failed to get the 10 in a row. There was all sorts of stuff going on with the club. The communication was poor, and this guy comes in who most of us had to go and look up. You'd like to think that's got some depth to it, Ryan, that, you know, that relationship and that acceptance of him and the way we embraced him and the love affair that we've got with him now, you'd like to think that means something. And gone by the type of guy he is, I would think that would mean something to him. I'm not saying he would stay at the club, you know, just to keep the fans happy and know them to follow him. I don't mean that. I just mean I'd like to hope that he would say, let's give the club a wee bit more. Let's give the fans a wee bit more. They deserve it. They've been good to me. And somebody said it on one of the chats earlier, timing's everything in football. Brendan Rodgers got his timing horrendously wrong. And I think Ange, he's a clever man, he'll know that. He'll know the reaction that the Celtic fans had to Brendan Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Ange Postecoglou would want to taint his spell with the club under any circumstances. So I'm just going to let the fear go for the now, right? And just trust the big man that he's here for a wee bit of time still to come.
No, honestly, Barry, I think I don't think we've got any fear, mate. I'd be really shocked if I woke up in a few days' time that he was away down south somewhere, because I know I've seen rumours about Jesse Marks going to Southampton, and I've seen rumours about Gerrard going to Leeds, etc. Which is, I think if Gerrard goes to Leeds, that's crazy. Oh, it's crazy. Celtic are a very, very, very well-run club. One of the best run club in the world, probably. Even through COVID, we just about came out a profit, which is phenomenal. It's phenomenal how we didn't lose a lot of money. I think it's £59 million, I think, take away tax sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
Apparently for the interim results, which is, well, apparently, according to the Scottish media and Rangers fans, we've spent 50 million. If we spent 50 million, how we sitting with £59 million in the bank? It just doesn't make sense. The last comment on that, Barry, and then we'll get to the last bit of the show. Comment from Merrill. I want to see how much we spend this summer. I would expect to see a large outlay on individual players. I don't know what you feel about that, Barry, but I do feel, I said to my old man this morning, I feel maybe this, I know with Siltjanovic, but I think maybe, I know he was a key player, but I thought it'd be sold for a lot more than we did. I do feel this might be a summer where one of our bigger players does go for big money, and I think I'm only going to go for my feeling, and I think it could be O'Reilly. Even though he has spoken about we need to do better next year, European, but if he gets a big offer from down south, because he is, I know he's playing with Denmark, but obviously he's English, I think maybe he might be tempted because he's came from MK Dons. I know he's at Celtic, but like you say, Barry, sometimes the Premier League calls, it does mess with your head, or I could maybe get them more money, I could maybe try and get to a bigger club, and etc. etc. Don't you feel on that, Barry? But I don't see the model of Celtic at the moment. By all accounts, by the accounts, Barry, you could go spend £10 million on a player. You probably could, but then you need to give him 50, 60 probably. Great, and then obviously, well, we all know, Barry, that Celtic's cap's probably maybe between 30 and 40 grand, maybe the biggest they'll pay. Maybe for what I know, I think McGregor's on maybe 30 odds. He should probably be the highest paid, him and Jota, I think, roughly. So don't really feel that, Barry, but I do feel that there will be maybe a few players leaving in the summer. Obviously, a few and as well, but how much money do you think that we could spend, obviously considering the model we've got?
Well, I was delighted first and foremost with those financial reports that came out. Again, I go back to my point about Peter Lawwell. Our club has been run as a business incredibly successfully, and also, on the pitch, enormously successful. So, I think the club are doing everything that's required of them. In terms of players going out, Matt O'Reilly has been in and out of the team a wee bit recently, which maybe would stunt his kind of sale. Maybe that would need to wait to a wee bit further down the line, but I do see Matt O'Reilly at some point going for big money, because form is temporary and class is permanent, and he's a class act. But I like the question to the viewer, because it is a good question. Ange Postecoglou has built such a strong squad now that he's definitely not going to need to sign 3, 4, 5 players next window. You're maybe looking at some players going out and maybe 1 or 2 coming in. And it's back to the kind of David Turnbull scenario, where you've got a player there who's a good squad player, he's a good player in his own right, but if you can get guys like him, if you can move them on, and you're able to go and spend good money on a player to come straight into the first team, I don't know, Ryan. It depends on what Ange Postecoglou believes he needs for the Champions League.
Yeah.
Because that squad that's sitting there now can win domestically for the next 2 or 3 years. But how ambitious does Celtic want to be in the Champions League? And if Celtic do match Ange Postecoglou's ambition, I could see Celtic spending somewhere in the region of between 15, 16 million quid on 2 players. I could see that happening. I could see us investing heavily. But it would only be on 2 players at most, I would think. And you'd maybe spend big money on them, which is always a gamble. But, I mean, if you're going to give any Celtic manager in recent history big money to spend on 1 or 2 players, give it to Ange Postecoglou.
No, I agree, Baz. I think for the Champions League, I think, again, I know you've just signed O, but I think maybe I don't want to say a blockbuster forward, but I think a proven goal scorer in the Champions League would be an essential part of the progression, I feel, Barry, because I think if you'd a proven goal scorer in Europe last year, you might have qualified.
Yeah.
It's small margins. How much a proven goal scorer is going to cost you, that's in the markets. I'm not going to sit here and say how much it's going to cost you. But talking about how much guys cost, the last bit of the pod, mate, I want to speak about is Carter Vickers. What a bargain. For me, people are going to have their opinions on it. What I'm going to say here, I think just because of how good Van Dijk was here and the money he went for, I'm going to say he's definitely 100%. He's the best defender in Scotland, in my opinion. And in my opinion, he's the best defender since Van Dijk. Some fans will say he's better than Van Dijk, but he's definitely, in my opinion, he's the best since Van Dijk. We've had in a long time. He's definitely one of the best we've had in the last 20 years. He's phenomenal. He's so strong, powerful. He covers other defenders. Fans have obviously got a bit of gripe with Starfelt.
Don't tell JP.
Some fans, see, be fair, right, I like Starfelt, but he has got a mistake in him. The penalty, I'm not really want to talk about the VR because we all know what happened yesterday was bonkers, some of the decisions. But was it a penalty? I don't think it's enough contact, but the ref gave it, so believe it or that. But fans are Starfelt's tied in, but I think he's maybe a scapegoat because when he does make a mistake, which it's not every game, but I think it's because he's prone to it. Oh, Starfelt, right, Kobayashi's got to go in, but he's still not lost a game him and Vickers have played. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. But on your opinion about Carter Vickers, mate, he's an absolute must-keep because I think he will get, maybe the summer or the next summer, I think you will get suitors for him down south because he's phenomenal. I still can't believe we got him for what we got him for. I know some people might say it's a lot of money for Celtic, but sometimes, Barry, £6 million to us is a lot of money, but for other teams and other leagues, it's pennies. In my opinion, mate, he's tenfold paid that back already.
Aye. Well, poor Starfelt, no matter what he does, he's always going to look bad because Carter Vickers is so good. So all Starfelt's mistakes are highlighted more because Carter Vickers just doesn't make those mistakes at all. But I don't think he's at the level of Van Dijk or even defenders at that level. You know, Diaz at Man City, Varane at Man United. I don't think Carter Vickers is at that kind of level. But he's certainly the best defender I've seen in Scotland since Van Dijk. He's the best defender I've seen because a bit like we were saying about Callum McGregor in his position earlier in the show, that it just goes unnoticed so much. It just goes unnoticed because he makes it look so easy. You never ever see Carter Vickers in a compromised position. You don't ever see it. You never see him kind of, desperately trying to get back at his man or making stupid tackles because he's mistimed something. His football IQ as a defender is probably what makes him so good. He's obviously got, he's a big shithouse, isn't he? And he's rapid as well. So he's got obvious qualities, but it's his football IQ is up there because he's just always where he should be on the pitch. He's absolutely class. I don't really see. I do see him being somebody that's here long term because I don't think there would be a lot of clubs would look at him because he doesn't have that kind of obvious appeal. You think about Chris Ayer when he was at Celtic. Chris Ayer, he wasn't anywhere near as good as Carter Vickers, but Chris Ayer would do tackles that they would catch the camera.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he would do last ditch tackles. He would make up 30 yards on an attacker. He would stride out for the back and you know, move into midfield with the ball. So he looked good at times, but in terms of just out and out defence and being solid and not making mistakes, Carter Vickers is. It does make defending look easy.
Just had a wee bit off my diary. Apparently, Ian McCall's been sacked. I don't know if that's true. That's a very strange one. If it's in the wee exclusive, I don't know if it's true, but just been told he's been sacked. I'm not sure if that's true, which I think strange after the result today. They took Rangers very, very close.
That boy, sorry, Ryan, that boy down south get the sack, didn't he? The Southampton manager.
Nathan Jones,
was it only 95 days or something he was in the job?
13 games or something, wasn't it? Roughly, something like that.
That's incredible, isn't it?
And you're talking about Ayer. I actually think Ayer would do well in this team. I didn't think he was the best of defenders, but what I liked about him was sometimes, Barry, it was priceless in what he done in terms of taking the ball out. He used to run about 30-40 yards, and it gave you a bit of breathing space to reshape, because that's what he done. He was very good at that, I thought. Again, a bit of a scapegoat because he wasn't that as a centre-back. Rogers made a centre-half. He's seen something in to make a centre-back out of Ayer, and then he got his big move down south to obviously Brentford. He's not really played much due to injury, but all in all, mate, I think Ayer is a decent player. I think he's done well for himself, obviously, getting a move. I think because of that season, mate, a lot of people are going to get a bit of criticism because of who they are as a player. But I totally agree with you in terms of Vickers, mate. He's brilliant. I think he's effortless sometimes. I know some people can maybe put against him. I know Curtis Main tried yesterday, but I thought Vickers just dealt with ease. And all in all, mate, I thought the game yesterday was the last thought yourself, mate, but the game yesterday, I thought all in, mate, it was good to get through the next round. Didn't think they caused as much issues, St Mirren, to be fair. All in all, mate, good to get through the next round and another victory, mate, which is the main thing. And performance levels are slowly getting there in terms of maybe not being in second gear all the time. Out of second gear all the time, but I think, Barry, when we need to go into that third and fourth gear, when we need to put the throttle to the floor, I think we're the only team in Scotland that can do that to change games. Yeah,
happy, delighted, 5 goals. You know, a wee blip conceding a goal, but you know, all positives. You know, the full squad, or just about most of them, played their part. Glad Hatate got a couple of goals as well, and so getting his debut goal was fantastic. And competition for places, Ryan, especially at this time of the season. You know, when you're getting towards the kind of end of it, and cup competitions. You know, hopefully. We've obviously got a final to come, but knockout stages at the Scottish Cup, you know, you want competition for places. You want people right on the edge, playing on the edge, fighting for positions, because there's big games coming up, and we've got that. We've got that right throughout the whole squad in every position, just about. So, no, I'm a happy fan. Looking forward to the draw, and looking forward to any noise and speculation about Big Ange. Looking forward to that settling so that I can get a night's sleep without getting woke up.
I think the night, mate, you'll be fine, but then tomorrow it'll be Southampton rumours. So the fear will be back. But that's the end of tonight's show. Thanks for the comments and listening. If you do like the content and you do like me, JP, Barry and Jason, I know Ada spoke as well last week, spoke very well as well. If you like us talking, if you do like us as even if you like some nonsense chat, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, tick the wee red bell, it's on your screen, and you'll get any video we get live or we put up. If you don't know how to do it, just make a wee Google account with the password you know, and you'll be able to make one. And please click subscribe. Myself and Barry, We're on Facebook, myself, JP, and Jason as well. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll get the YouTube channel. Just type in Celtic Unrestricted View. You'll get it on TikTok and YouTube. Again, thanks for the comments and the listeners. Sorry we can't get every comment. We're trying our best to obviously get as much as we can. But again, Barry, hail, mate. Thanks for the chat and have a good rest of Sunday night, mate.
Hail, Ryan. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. A big milestone for the captain as well. Considering obviously where we were a wee while ago, didn't know who the captain was going to be. A few, including myself, wasn't sure about McGregor. I was kind of saying Julian and all that, and you weren't really sure who was going to come in as manager to start off with, and then who would be the captain. Obviously, because let's be fair, anybody who follows Scott Brown, it's always going to be a hard task to follow the way he was as a person, as a player, and as a captain. Not